Clearly, touching a powerful object is all it takes to gain terrifying abilities. Yet I chose to touch the campus bell instead, only because I've been reborn. I know that even if I touch a sharp, peerless sword, I still can't escape the fate of being manipulated at will. So on the day before global alienation descends, my gaze fell on Liu Ruyan, the campus belle beside me. In my previous life, this woman saved me from danger more than once. To repay her kindness, and also for my own sake, in this life, let's share this opportunity together. After that, I passed her a note. Monitor, a great change is about to happen to the world. If you trust me, keep your phone on tonight at midnight. I'll contact you. But unexpectedly, when Liu Ruyan saw it, her lips twitched, and she tore the note to shreds without a second thought. Seeing this, I wasn't surprised. I'd expected it. But I believe, once midnight strikes tonight, the monitor will definitely contact me. As night fell, I watched the clock on the wall ticking away. Finally, when the hour hand passed 12, a mysterious voice echoed in everyone's ears. Global alienation descends. From this moment on, the last object you touch with your hands will be enhanced and transformed into part of your body. This period will last 24 hours. Begin this grand feast. Alas, the era of global alienation is still here. Monitor, I'm sure you heard that voice too, right? You'll remember the note I gave you today. As expected, the next second, a text message appeared on my phone. It was from Liu Ruyan. What did the note you gave me this afternoon mean? Did you know this would happen tonight all along? Looking at the message from Liu Ruyan, I smiled faintly and replied, Meet me at 11:30 tomorrow night. I'll tell you the optimal choice for touching, but this information is only for you. Also remember to delete this message completely. Liu Ruyan replied simply, Okay, see you tomorrow. At the same time, Liu Ruyan never imagined that this bookish guy who's often bullied would know something about the origin of global alienation. Meanwhile, transportation across the world came to a standstill because most people had gone completely crazy. Their eyes only focused on treasures and all kinds of supplies. But I didn't care about any of this because everything was under my control. Time passed minute by minute. At 11 o'clock, Liu Ruyan took her family heirloom jade and went out to find me. There's only 1 hour left before the treasure-touching time ends. Can Li Qingshan bring a better treasure than the jade? And is he really willing to share the touch with me? Liu Ruyan's thoughts were in a mess at this moment. Before she knew it, Liu Ruyan had arrived at my house. Qingshan, when you asked me to come over, you said you'd tell me the optimal choice for touching. What is it? I read online earlier that touching rare treasures or fierce beasts gives you powerful superpowers. Don't you have any amazing treasures here? I looked at Liu Ruyan and shook my head. Monitor, does my house look like it has amazing treasures? All those important treasures are in the hands of those big shots. Liu Ruyan looked around the somewhat cold room and nodded. That makes sense. Then what is this optimal choice for touching you mentioned? I looked at Liu Ruyan with a crafty smile. It's far away in the horizon, yet right here in front of you. Hearing this, Liu Ruyan found it hard to believe. There are no special treasures around here at all. Looking at me in front of her, Liu Ruyan felt she understood me less and less. I seemed a bit mysterious, even awe-inspiring and terrifying like the universe itself. Seeing this, I said calmly, No rush, I'll tell you later. Then Liu Ruyan and I sat on the sofa and chatted. When it was almost 11:55, I looked at Liu Ruyan beside me. Monitor, now I can tell you what the optimal choice for touching is. What is it? Liu Ruyan looked at me with great anticipation. Humans, the optimal choice for touching is humans. And the ones touching must be a man and a woman. As long as a man and a woman touch each other, they'll gain a physique called yin-yang physique. In the early stages, this physique might not be as good as some superpower users, but in the later stages, its power will leave everyone far behind. My passionate voice hit Liu Ruyan's heart like a heavy punch. She never expected. This was my method. It made her completely confused. All the big online bloggers are saying touching treasures makes you stronger, but Li Qingshan actually wants to touch a woman. And that woman isn't just anyone. It's me. Liu Ruyan was extremely surprised by this. There are so many other girls in the class. Why did you choose me? Hearing this, I knew Liu Ruyan was starting to believe me. Because, Monitor, you've protected me before. In this world, you're the only one I can trust. Time ticked by second. Only 2 minutes remained until alienation ended. Monitor, I know you originally planned to touch your family's ancient jade, to gain powerful superpowers. But please trust me, this isn't the optimal choice for touching. My words made Liu Ruyan's heart skip a beat. The matter of touching the family's ancient jade. Only my parents and brother know about it. Now Li Qingshan is saying it out loud. This means what he's saying is most likely true. Your brother wants to touch a fierce tiger. Your dad wants to touch a sword. And your mom wants to touch a precious blade. The important pieces of information I threw out one after another, kept breaking down Liu Ruyan's mental defenses. Li Qingshan not only knows what object I'm going to touch, but also my brother Liu Tianba. Even my parents, he knows exactly what they want to touch. Li Qingshan, I never thought you'd know so much. I can barely understand you anymore. And there's only 1 minute left now. I'll trust you this once. I don't think the optimal choice for touching is humans themselves. It's just that, as she spoke to the end, Liu Ruyan's voice grew fainter and fainter, and a blush crept up her beautiful face. What do you mean? My heart skipped a beat. A bold thought suddenly popped into my mind. In my previous life, I only heard that touching someone of the opposite sex grants the yin-yang physique, making you the favorite of the great Tao of heaven and earth. But I never tried it myself. At the thought of this, my breathing couldn't help but quicken, and my gaze toward Liu Ruyan became fiery. Then Liu Ruyan told me 2 keywords: Adam and Eve. As the first man and woman in the Western world, the implication was crystal clear. I get it. At 11:59, Liu Ruyan and I touched each other. The next second, midnight arrived. That voice, like something out of a drama, echoed in the ears of all living beings on Earth. Everyone felt a wave of dizziness, and then their bodies began to undergo strange changes. At this moment, global superpowers officially descended. Someone touched a giant ox. His bones thinned, and horns grew on his head. He had clearly become an ox-headed man. Someone touched a kitchen knife in the kitchen. His palms could now withstand random knife cuts without harm. It's chaos, total chaos! Planet Earth is in chaos right now. All kinds of collision sounds echoed across the planet. After Liu Ruyan and I finished our duo touch, something called responsibility weighed on my shoulders. I knew I should take responsibility for Liu Ruyan. If it weren't for her, I would never have obtained the true yin-yang physique. At this moment, with every breath I took, I could feel the passionate flow of blood in my veins. Even my eyesight had surprisingly recovered. I took off my glasses directly and looked carefully at the beautiful woman beside me. The monitor, "Don't worry, I'll take responsibility for you." Hearing this, Liu Ruyan actually got a little angry. She punched me hard in the chest. Take responsibility? If you really want to take responsibility, stop calling me monitor. Hearing this, I naturally knew what Liu Ruyan meant. Ruyan, I'll take responsibility for you. But Liu Ruyan was still a little angry. From now on, you're not allowed to team up with any other women. And we're not boyfriend and girlfriend yet. Don't get too close. I pricked up my ears and listened carefully to Liu Ruyan finish speaking. Ruyan, I'll do what you say. Then Liu Ruyan also began to feel the changes in her body. She was curious. After touching me, what kind of superpower would she gain? After a while, Liu Ruyan's delicate eyebrows furrowed. Qingshan, apart from my eyesight and hearing getting better, it seems I haven't gained any superpowers. Did you get this optimal choice wrong? Liu Ruyan pointed at the street outside the window. Look, the buildings over there are on fire, and someone over there is carrying a car and walking. Our so-called optimal choice seems a bit too understated. Looking at Liu Ruyan's confused little expression, I smiled slightly. Ruyan, you know about the concept of moderation, right? Once balance is achieved, all things in heaven and earth begin to grow and develop. This means our path of cultivation in the future will be very smooth, and we'll become powerful cultivators. Hearing my words, Liu Ruyan was greatly shocked. Everyone else is trying to soar to great heights with their superpowers. But you're taking a different path. You want to walk the path of cultivation directly. I really don't know if I should call you a genius or a madman. At this moment, the look in Liu Ruyan's eyes toward me became even more admiring. Hearing this, Liu Ruyan continued to ask me, Qingshan, since you know about the yin-yang physique, you must know how to cultivate, right? I smiled faintly. I know that the so-called cultivation is nothing more than qi refining and body tempering. Since you understand cultivation, you must know some cultivation techniques, right? Looking at the intelligent Ruyan in front of me, I knew that everything I was saying could easily arouse Liu Ruyan's suspicion. The more Ruyan knows, the more dangerous it will be for her. There are some things I can't tell you for now, but you have to trust me, okay? Liu Ruyan nodded heavily. I trust you. After that, Liu Ruyan and I began our formal cultivation. I sat cross-legged, closed my eyes, and meditated. Soon I entered the qi refining breathing state. Before long, a stream of qi began to circulate around my body. Then some black sweat stains seeped out of my body. Watching this scene in front of her, Liu Ruyan was filled with wonder. Finally, after 2.5 hours, I exhaled a breath of impure qi and stood up, as energetic as a dragon and tiger. It was precisely by relying on this yin-yang physique that I was able to absorb the spiritual energy between heaven and earth, and then unblock my long-constricted meridians. I tried throwing a casual punch. A low rumble echoed through the room. This power surprised Liu Ruyan greatly. At the same time, on the street outside the window, powerful superpower users could be seen fighting from time to time. At this moment, Liu Ruyan also received a message from her family telling her they were safe. Her brother Liu Tianba had touched a white tiger, gaining the ability to transform into a tiger form at any time. Her father, after touching a sword, achieved the effect of sword body unity. As for Liu Ruyan's mother, after touching a precious blade, she could transform from human form to blade form at any time. After reassuring her family that she was safe, Liu Ruyan felt at ease and entered the cultivation mode with me. Before she knew it, a whole day had passed. After eating a simple bowl of instant noodles with Ruyan, I planned to teach her a set of Dragon Tiger Fist. As I began to wave my hands, the souls of a dragon and a tiger condensed beside me. This scene surprised Liu Ruyan greatly. It meant that each cultivation technique was equivalent to a type of superpower. If one mastered enough techniques, then controlling fire, manipulating water, and more would no longer be dreams. Just as Ruyan and I were happy about our cultivation, Shang Guanjin, who had bullied Li Qingshan since childhood, was suffering greatly. Because when alienation was about to end, his parents had chosen to touch a statue of Sakyamuni together. Originally, they both thought they would become superior to others because of this, but they never expected the statue to twist into a monster. This monster had 4 eyes, and 2 mouths, one large and one small, looking extremely terrifying. Fortunately, when Shang Guanjin underwent alienation, he had touched a dead snake, which gave him the ability to transform into a venomous snake of death qi. To prevent his parents from being killed by other superpower users, Shang Guanjin had no choice but to hide them at home. On the other side, Liu Tianba and his parents were worried because Liu Ruyan hadn't returned for a long time, so they planned to go look for her. But as soon as Liu Tianba and Liu Chuanxiong went out on the street, they were targeted by a superpower user. This person was a burly man, estimated to be over 2 meters tall. He was like a human tank. With a casual punch, he crushed the car next to him into a metal pancake. Seeing the man's aggressive approach, Liu Chuanxiong and his son didn't plan to hold back anymore. Liu Tianba opened his mouth wide and let out a roar like that of a small mountain. Then Liu Tianba transformed into a majestic white tiger. At the same time, Liu Chuanxiong transformed into a sharp sword emitting a cold aura. Seeing how fierce the two of them were, the human tank had no choice but to turn around and leave. After going through all kinds of dangers along the way, the two finally arrived at Li Qingshan's door. Inside the house, Ruyan and I were happily cultivating, but suddenly, we both stopped our movements at the same time. Because of the yin-yang physique we had gained, we could see in all directions and hear in all directions. At this moment, we knew there were guests outside. Ruyan and I tiptoed to the door. We were just about to look through the peephole to see who was outside, but unexpectedly the peephole was blocked. Clearly the people outside were not good. Then Liu Ruyan quickly opened the door, while I assumed the starting stance of Dragon Tiger Fist with my hands. Liu Tianba and the other person outside were startled by this sudden move. The moment they saw each other, they all froze. Liu Tianba growled, "Kid, do you want to fight me?" At this moment, Liu Tianba's aura was like that of a giant beast. Terrifying. I blinked my eyes innocently and retracted the Dragon Tiger Fist stance I had taken. Realizing that the visitors were Ruyan's father and brother, I quickly invited them into the house. "Ruyan, your dad was worried about your safety, so he came to find you with your brother." Liu Chuanxiong looked at Liu Ruyan with a worried face. Only then did Liu Ruyan notice that her father and brother's clothes looked a bit ridiculous. Liu Ruyan was just about to ask what had happened, when Liu Chuanzhong and his son furrowed their brows deeply. A bold thought popped into both of their minds. "Kid, Are you dating her? If your superpowers are too weak, I advise you to give up early. At this moment, Liu Tianba stared at me fiercely, waving his huge fists as he spoke. Seeing this, Liu Ruyan planned to stop us. But I knew that to gain Liu Tianba's approval, I had to subdue him with my fists. So I proposed to have a spar with Liu Tianba. As soon as these words were spoken, all three members of the Liu family were stunned. Liu Tianba smiled and said, "Qingshan, I won't take advantage of you. If you can defeat me without me using my superpowers, then I'll allow you to be friends with Ruyan." Hearing this, I couldn't help but freeze. It seemed Liu Tianba was quite confident in his superpowers. After all, the white tiger's enhancement to the body was too outrageous. Even without using his superpowers, Liu Tianba could easily take down a dozen people, but I wasn't afraid. I just assumed the stance of Dragon Tiger Fist, and a small whirlwind began to swirl around me. Immediately after, the roar of a tiger and the cry of a dragon rang out. Liu Tianba was so shocked that he opened his mouth wide. The next second, I charged toward Liu Tianba and struck. Almost out of the instinct to survive, Liu Tianba activated his superpower instantly. His body began to expand wildly, and in the blink of an eye, Liu Tianba transformed into a giant white tiger beast. My Dragon Tiger Fist strike hit the giant white tiger beast directly on its face, causing its facial features to sink inward. The giant white tiger beast let out a miserable howl and pushed its body hard against me. I was thrown backward instantly, crashing toward a wall in the living room. Fortunately, relying on my combat experience from my previous life, I landed steadily. At this moment, blood flowed from the giant white tiger beast's face. Furious, it roared at me. Fortunately, Liu Ruyan quickly stopped it, allowing Liu Tianba to regain a shred of reason. Having transformed back into human form, Liu Tianba touched his injured forehead and fully recognized me. After that, Liu Chuanxiong and his son began to ask what Liu Ruyan's superpower was. Could it be turning into a piece of jade? Hearing this, Liu Ruyan's face turned crimson. It was too embarrassing to say. She couldn't help but cast a pleading glance at me. After getting my approval, Liu Ruyan said her superpower was the yin-yang physique. Just as the two of them were confused about this, the door to the living room was kicked open with a bang. "Room 4399, keep quiet for me. Otherwise, I'll smash all of you!" The comer was a thin man with an extremely bloated head. His ears were unusually large, like palm leaf fans. Seeing that he was about to make a move, I used the lightness skill, Snake Step from my previous life. In just an instant, I appeared in front of this big-eared superpower user. Then, with a move called Crane Control and Dragon Seizing Hand, I twisted his big ears hard and threw him into the house. Since his superpower was related to hearing, I took out an MP3 and turned the volume up to the maximum. The big-eared man screamed wildly after hearing it. Seeing that he still wanted to resist, I stepped forward and slapped him hard. This made him quiet down instantly. He begged for mercy repeatedly from the few of us. Seeing that his attitude of admitting his mistake was good, we let him leave. Immediately after, Liu Chuanxiong continued to ask, "What exactly is this yin-yang physique?" After seeing Liu Ruyan's pleading eyes, I told Liu Chuanxiong and his son, when global superpowers descended, a mysterious voice entered my mind. The owner of the voice seemed like an immortal. He told me that if a man and a woman touch each other at the final moment, they can obtain the yin-yang physique. After obtaining this physique, one can embark on the path of immortality cultivation. Hearing this, Liu Chuanxiong and his son widened their eyes. When Liu Tianba came to his senses, he realized that I had touched Liu Ruyan, and he flew into a rage instantly. He stepped forward, ready to teach me a harsh lesson. But at this moment, Liu Ruyan stood in front of me, expressing her trust in me. I also took the opportunity to express my loyalty to my future brother-in-law, saying that I would treat Ruyan well. Moreover, I could also pass on the cultivation formulas to them. Looking at the lonely young man in front of him, Liu Tianba thought for a moment and said he would temporarily not pursue the matter of me touching his sister. But the only condition was that I go home with them first. Hearing this, I was stunned. Liu Ruyan's cheeks also turned pink. "Brother, what are you talking about? I'm just good classmates with Qingshan." Just as the atmosphere turned awkward, Liu Tianba stepped forward to smooth things over. "Qingshan, this house was damaged a lot in the fight just now. Moreover, in these chaotic times, only by uniting can we increase our chances of survival." I thought for a moment and agreed to Liu Tianba's proposal. After all, the yin-yang physique wasn't strong in the early stages. With the protection of Liu Ruyan's family, I could grow more steadily. After that, I began to pack my daily necessities. In a short while, I packed 2 large suitcases. There's a bit too much stuff. Liu Tianba scratched his head in confusion. After learning that most of the contents in the suitcases were my father's relics, Liu Tianba didn't say anything more. He just nodded slightly. Since I had already cultivated the yin-yang dominant physique, I could still walk briskly, even while carrying 2 oversized suitcases. But when we reached the community gate, 3 superpower users blocked our way. Beside them, there were some daily necessities, and a young girl tied up with ropes. "You're leaving here, right? Leave the suitcases and the woman." "And you can go." The green-haired man leading them glanced at the few of us with a gloomy look, and his gaze lingered on Liu Ruyan. Next to him was a tall, thin man, whose hands were 2 sharp kitchen knives. The other man, who was burly, had skin of a strange black color, like pitch-black stone. Liu Chuanxiong thought the other party looked tough to deal with, so he suggested climbing over the wall to leave together. Hearing Liu Chuanxiong's words, Liu Tianba furrowed his brows, but after a moment of hesitation, he agreed not to conflict with them. Hearing this, the corner of my mouth twitched. "Uncle, Brother Tianba, you really have no idea how strong you are. Moreover, these 3 superpower users have clearly set their sights on the suitcases and Liu Ruyan. Even if we leave, they might still chase after us." Hearing this, the 3 members of the Liu family all froze for a moment. Besides, if we beat these 3 superpower users, these supplies will be enough for us to use for a while. As for this girl, we can also do her a favor, because in these chaotic times, all supplies had become extremely limited. They were in high demand but hard to find. When Liu Chuanxiong and his son heard this, they were shocked. A look of surprise flashed in their eyes. Even Liu Ruyan didn't expect that. I, who was always gentle and refined, would have such a fierce and courageous side. At this moment, the way Liu Ruyan looked at me was full of dazzling light. "Brother, Dad!" Now there are kind people who have stockpiled supplies for us. If we don't take them now, when will we? Seeing that Ruyan also said this, Liu Chuanxiong and his son made up their minds. The joints of Liu Tianba's fists creaked as he clenched them tightly. Seeing our aggressive stance, the green-haired man leading them flew into a rage. His head actually transformed into a ferocious wolf's head. Following the wolf-headed man's roar, his body began to expand wildly. In an instant, he turned into a giant green wolf beast. Seeing this scene, Liu Tianba shouted, "Let me handle this!" He opened his arms wide, shielding Ruyan and me behind him. Immediately after, a howl resounded through the sky. Liu Tianba's body began to expand rapidly. The next second, a majestic giant white tiger beast appeared in everyone's sight. In terms of size alone, the giant white tiger beast that Liu Tianba transformed into was more than a circle larger than the giant green wolf beast. Before the other side could react in surprise, Liu Chuanxiong, whose body was as straight as a sword, took a step forward as a cold light flashed around him. Liu Chuanxiong transformed into a giant sword emitting cold light. The giant sword let out a humming sound and stabbed toward the kitchen knife superpower user. Kitchen knives versus giant sword. Who is stronger? The difference is clear at a glance. But the stocky superpower user, with skin as hard as iron sheet beside them, stepped forward at this moment. The collision of their 2 iron fists sparked a shower of sparks. This stocky superpower user wanted to test his strength against Liu Chuanxiong's giant sword, but he didn't expect me to charge over using the snake step. Seeing me join the fight, Liu Ruyan turned her gaze to the frightened girl. "I'll find a chance to sneak over and untie the ropes for her." Liu Ruyan made up her mind secretly. At this time, the green wolf and the white tiger had already tangled in a fight. The green wolf's sharp claws slashed hard at the white tiger's body, tearing open a long, narrow wound. But the white tiger took this opportunity to bite directly into the green wolf's neck. At this moment, a large amount of wolf blood gushed out from the green wolf's neck. In just 20 breaths, the green wolf stopped struggling and fell into a pool of blood. On the other side, a scream rang out. The kitchen knife superpower user's 2 knives were cut off and fell to the ground. Meanwhile, I was entanglement with the iron skin superpower user. My attacks landed on his body, but caused no damage at all. Fortunately, relying on my agile movement, he could hardly touch me. When he noticed that his 2 companions had already died, he quickly turned around and tried to escape. But I chased after him using the snake step and caught him in just an instant. I crossed my right foot to trip him, making him fall face first onto the ground. At this time, the giant sword from the side also charged over and slashed hard at the Iron Skin superpower user's arm. Sparks flew everywhere instantly. One of the Iron Skin superpower user's arms was actually chopped off alive. Losing his arm made him completely lose the will to fight. He knelt on the ground and wailed in pain. But this made me a little worried. Uncle, you chopped off his arm. How are we going to transport all these supplies now? Then I looked at the girl beside me. At this moment, the girl was leaning in Liu Ruyan's arms, sobbing softly. It was clear that she had been greatly frightened. After comforting the girl for a while, Liu Ruyan told her to go home quickly. Just as we were troubled by transporting the supplies, the big-eared superpower user walked over. I have a car and can help you transport them. But you have to give me a portion of the supplies. Taking a closer look, it turned out to be the big-eared man who had caused trouble at my house earlier. Liu Tianba's expression turned solemn. How dare you eavesdrop on our conversation? Now go and drive the car over. Otherwise, I'll bite you to death on the spot. As Liu Tianba spoke, he pointed at the green wolf's corpse not far away. Hearing this, the big-eared man trembled and grew more afraid as he looked at the green wolf beside him. He had no choice but to hand over the car keys in his hand. After finding the big-eared man's van, everyone began to load the seized supplies into the car. Meanwhile, I stared at the green wolf's corpse in the distance, lost in thought. If this wolf were in the cultivation continent, it would be considered a decent spirit beast. After a spirit beast dies, its fur, bones, and internal organs can all be exchanged for money. Some spirit beasts can even produce inner cores. Taking an inner core can improve one's cultivation, and spiritual bones can be fused with the body to obtain a stronger physique. Thinking that it would be a waste to just throw away the giant wolf, I planned to go forward and dissect it. Then I found some tools from the van and cut open the giant wolf's body. Soon I felt a round object, although it was only an inner core the size of a fingernail. Something is better than nothing. Then I groped around the giant wolf for a while, but unfortunately found nothing else. After getting back in the car, the others looked at me with incomparable awe. They never expected that a high school student like me could dissect a giant wolf with such skill. Qingshan, you're really a tough guy. That giant wolf was once a human being, and you're not even scared at all. Moreover, your dissection skills are so exquisite. Liu Tianba muttered to himself. At this time, Liu Ruyan also looked at me curiously. Qingshan, you fussed with it for so long. Your harvest can't just be this wolf fur, right? Seeing everyone's curious faces, I opened my left hand. A golden inner core appeared in my palm, emitting a faint wolf-like aura. At this moment, Liu Chuanxiang and Liu Ruyan were already dumbfounded. Liu Tianba also turned around curiously, but Liu Chuanxiang pressed his head back. Then I began to explain inner cores to them. Generally, large monster beasts and spirit beasts have a chance of producing inner cores in their bodies. Taking it can speed up cultivation progress, and inner cores also help in condensing beast cores in the future. Soon, we arrived at the villa where the Liu family lived. As soon as Liu Tianba parked the van, a woman in her 40s came out of the villa and hugged Liu Ruyan tightly. This woman had fair skin, a kind face, and every move exuded heroism and grace. But when her eyes fell on me, they clearly carried a hint of hostility and wariness.
Ruyan, who is this child?
Is he your classmate? Hearing this, Liu Ruyan quickly pulled Zhou Hanmei into the house. Mom, let me first take Qingshan to wash his hands and arms. After arriving at the bathroom, Liu Ruyan suddenly became serious. Qingshan, I need to remind you, my mom doesn't like me having too close contact with the opposite sex too early. This is the first time I've brought a boy home, but I believe you can handle my mom. Hearing this, the corner of my mouth twitched. I suddenly felt overwhelmed. How am I supposed to handle your mom? Liu Ruyan hugged me and said with a smile, my mom hates men who talk big. As long as you can show your true strength, all problems will be easily solved. Hearing this, I roughly understood what Liu Ruyan meant. After all, as the campus belle, Liu Ruyan was always pursued by various reckless boys. It was normal for Zhou Hanmei to have this worry. Next, as long as I showed that I was capable and responsible, I thought Liu Ruyan's mom wouldn't make things difficult for me. While I was thinking, Liu Ruyan pulled me to sit on the living room sofa. Ruyan, I heard that when global superpowers descended, you were with Qingshan? Don't you two have any secrets? Zhou Hanmei took the initiative to ask. Hearing this, Liu Ruyan's face turned red instantly, and she hesitated to speak. I, however, smiled slightly and said, Auntie, Liu Ruyan and I do have some secrets. Next, I'll tell you about the guidance from the mysterious immortal, and the fact that I touched Liu Ruyan. Hearing this, Jo Hanmei trembled with anger, and cold light shot from her eyes. Although Jo Hanmei was influenced by traditional ideas and believed that physical contact between men and women should only happen on their wedding day, things had already come to this point. No matter how much Jo Hanmei blamed me, this was an unchangeable fact. Moreover, I also had various opportunities to support me, which made Jo Hanmei more willing to entrust her daughter to me. In this way, I smoothly integrated into this family. By the way, Qingshan, let's eat first. Later, Auntie will clean out a room for you. You can stay here comfortably. Then the 5 of us sat down to have a reunion meal. Because of cultivation, Liu Ruyan and I had consumed a lot of energy in our bodies. So in the face of the delicious food Jo Hanmei cooked, we ate greedily. This shocked the other 3 people. After dinner, my room was also tidied up. Both the decoration and size of this room were much better than my previous home. After simply packing my luggage, I went to the living room. At this moment, Liu Tianba was looking at me with great enthusiasm. Qingshan, come and teach us to cultivate. Liu Chuanxiong and his wife also cast interested glances at me, so I planned to teach them the cultivation formulas. After reminding them not to copy it down or record it, I began to pass on the formulas, but Liu Chuanxiong and Jo Hanmei looked completely confused, and Liu Tianba even closed his eyes directly, looking like he was about to fall asleep. Ahem, Brother Tianba, pay attention. Liu Tianba shook his head suddenly and said embarrassedly while touching his head, the ocean of knowledge has improved my sleep quality. Seeing this, the corner of my mouth twitched. Liu Tianba had made me laugh. It's normal that you can't understand or remember the formulas. Cultivation is a long process. And besides, you don't have the yin-yang physique, so your cultivation speed will be much slower. Hearing this, a look of envy appeared in Liu Tianba's eyes. Ah, this yin-yang talent is really great. Time passed quickly during cultivation. Before we knew it, 3 days had gone by. The power went out in both the community and the villa area. Then, on the 4th day, all the water supply around also stopped. Not a single drop of water could flow out of the faucet anymore. It wasn't until the 9th day that Liu Chuanxiong and his son could no longer stand the boredom. They proposed to me that they wanted to go look for supplies, but I firmly refused. Only because becoming stronger through cultivation was more important than anything else right now. At the same time, a huge fleshy tumor monster was devouring food crazily in a room. From time to time, it stuck out a long tongue-like appendage from its mouth, constantly stuffing the meat next to it into its mouth. Dad, Mom, is it delicious? Shang Guanjin beside them showed a crazy smile. There are so many superpower users in this world. We'll never run out of meat to eat at home from now on. His parents were extremely hungry, but they had no way to get food. Moreover, all the neighbors strongly rejected his parents. Finally, Shang Guanjin couldn't stand it anymore. He took his parents and went out to kill. He didn't expect it before. But once he started fighting, he was shocked. Teaming up with his parents, their combat strength was surprisingly high. His parents blocked the floor entrance to prevent other superpower users from escaping, while he was in charge of collecting supplies. In this way, Shang Guanjin became more and more crazy through constant plundering. On the other side, in the villa area where Li Qingshan was, several people were discussing the issue of food in the living room. Due to the excessive energy consumption from previous cultivation, the food left now was only enough to last for 2.5 days. At this moment, Liu Tianba kept waving his iron fists. Why don't we do what we did before? Go rob other people's supplies? Liu Tianba's words resonated with everyone. But we can't just randomly rob other people's food without reason, right? Liu Ruyan looked at me hesitantly. At this moment, Liu Chuanxiong also turned his gaze to me. Teacher Qingshan, you look so calm. Do you have a good idea? The reason I didn't let you go out to look for supplies a few days ago is because I know there's a warehouse that has a lot of supplies stockpiled inside. But to take over this warehouse, we must defeat many superpower users. Liu Ruyan looked confused. A warehouse? What warehouse? Why don't we know about it? At this moment, Jo Hanmei and Liu Tianba also looked at me together, because the day before the superpowers descended, I had already started observing the movements of the surrounding supermarkets. There's a supermarket called Zhenghui that transported a large amount of supplies out of the store, so I secretly followed them and found that they moved the supplies to a warehouse in the suburbs. Of course, most of these words were made up by me, It was actually a memory from my previous life. Originally, the owner of the warehouse wanted to make a fortune from this, but he didn't expect to be discovered by everyone, resulting in all the supplies inside being divided up. The superpower users in this suburban warehouse, their combat strength, is mainly made up of the owner, the metal-type users, and the employees. Their combat strength isn't strong enough. Their only advantage is their large number of people. After hearing this, golden light kept flashing in Liu Tianba's eyes. If we can take this warehouse, we won't have to worry about food and drink for the next few years. Is this suburban warehouse far from here? Liu Chuanxiong's face lit up with joy. About 30 kilometers away. And we have a van. We'll be there soon. But this warehouse is a hot potato. We just need to take the supplies we need. At this moment, Liu Chuanxiong raised a key question. But Qingshan, won't there be heavy guards in this warehouse? We only have 5 people. How can we win? Lu Ruyan also agreed. Yeah, if we go there rashly, we might be in mortal danger. Seeing everyone's worried faces, I calmly said 2 words, guerrilla tactics. After thinking for a moment, Liu Ruyan said, Qingshan, I think we should first conduct an on-site investigation. After finding out the specific number of superpower users, we can then formulate a strategy. After all, know yourself and your enemy, and you can fight 100 battles without defeat. I knew that Liu Ruyan didn't actually agree with the guerrilla tactics. To convince everyone, I had to explain, Ruyan, uncle, auntie, and brother Tianba, our 5-person combat strength is definitely no match for all the superpower users in the entire warehouse. But our individual combat ability is strong. Especially uncle and brother Tianba, fighting against multiple opponents alone is no problem for you. We can carry out some sabotage from time to time. When they feel that we're a nuisance, we'll then use coercion and inducement. As long as they give us some food, we'll stop causing trouble. After understanding my specific strategy, Liu Tianba began to rub his fists in anticipation. Eager to have a go, Liu Ruyan also changed her previous opinion and expressed her approval of this strategy. After reaching a consensus, everyone started busying themselves in a hurry, preparing the items needed for the trip. Then with Liu Tianba as the driver, everyone took their seats one after another. The 5 members of the family sat neatly in the van and set off. On the way, they inevitably encountered some superpower users stopping the car. But Liu Chuanxiong and his son weren't the kind to back down. They directly used their superpowers to deter the blocking superpower users. In these days, the 2 of them had cultivated the Qi formula, which made the aura emanating from their bodies even stronger. This made many blocking superpower users feel that they were difficult to deal with, so they chose to give up. The journey was bumpy. A trip that should have only taken 40 minutes actually took as long as 2.5 hours. Finally, to be safe, they left the van on the road far away, and the group quietly sneaked near the warehouse. This warehouse was very remote, surrounded by wild mountains and forests. Outside the warehouse were tall walls, which looked quite old. Inside the walls, there were also a few patrolling superpower users. So here's the plan. We'll charge through the main gate later, beat up the guarding superpower users, leave a letter and then retreat. The content of the letter will roughly say that they must prepare a truckload of supplies within today. Otherwise, we'll continue causing trouble, and we'll leak the news about the warehouse. Liu Tianba glanced at the ability user guarding the door. A fierce look appeared on his face. There are 10 of them. We must end the fight quickly. Otherwise, when the real fight breaks out later, we'll be at a big disadvantage. At this moment, Liu Ruyan also asked, Qingshan, let's not kill them, okay? I thought for a moment and agreed with Liu Ruyan's words. Intimidation is enough. Leave some room for others. We might meet again someday. If we push them too hard, it'll be bad if cornered beasts fight back. After finalizing our strategy, we decided to leave Liu Ruyan behind. After all, her combat strength is the lowest right now, so she's more suitable to stay and support us. Then the 4 of us charged forward and began to unleash our respective abilities. A tiger's roar echoed, and Liu Tianba's body started to expand rapidly. In an instant, he transformed into a majestic white tiger, a fearsome beast. A low hum of a giant sword rang out. Liu Chuanxiong's straight body suddenly turned into the shape of a giant sword. Zhou Hanmei, standing aside, radiated an aura of dominance from her body, transforming into a powerful, imposing saber. As for me, I covered my face with a black cloth and charged forward with eerie, snake-like steps. Leading the warehouse security was a middle-aged burly man with a dragon tattoo on his arm. When he saw us charging over, He immediately perked up, preparing to fight. The middle-aged man's arms turned into two ferocious black pythons. The pythons opened their huge mouths and lunged at the white tiger to bite it. The remaining 9 ability users also unleashed their abilities one after another. Getting ready to fight, one person transformed into a terrifying monster dog. Another's body began to grow layers of turtle shell. The battle was about to begin. Our main force, led by Liu Tianba, dived straight into the crowd of ability users. With a single paw swipe, he knocked over the turtle shell user and the stone transformation user. Immediately after, a giant sword came slicing through, sweeping at the ability users around. Several ability users were instantly terrified, scrambling to step back. At this moment, Zhou Hanmei, who had turned into a giant saber, also charged over, forcing several more ability users to retreat again. The two sides began to confront each other. "I'll warn you once," I said. "Go back to where you came from. This isn't a place you few can afford to mess with." The python-armed ability user spoke fiercely. I stepped forward and handed him a letter, telling him to give it to his boss. Seeing he still intended to threaten us, I flicked my wrist, flinging the envelope out. The envelope shot forward like a dart, letting out a sharp whistling sound in the air. This move surprised many of the ability users. The security captain had no choice but to take the second envelope I handed over. "Do you have anything else to say?" "I'll pass it on to our boss," he said. As he spoke, he glanced at the distance from the corner of his eye. Seeing no other security personnel coming, disappointment flashed in his eyes. Noticing his little trick, I smiled slightly. "We don't want to kill anyone, and we don't really want to destroy your warehouse. We just want a batch of supplies. So don't get any wrong ideas. Otherwise, if we get serious, at least 3 of you will die here." After speaking, I signaled for the others to leave. Liu Tianba let out a low roar and crouched down, letting me climb onto his back. Riding on the white tiger, I suddenly looked imposing. I warned them again not to try to stall for time. It would do them no good at all. After speaking, the giant white tiger took steps and ran into the distance. The giant sword and giant saber stood by my side, leaving with me. After we left, the security captain took the envelope and walked into the warehouse. He arrived at a magnificent office area. Meanwhile, the 4 of us had left safely, but worried that someone might be following us. I kept looking back to check behind us from time to time. Thankfully, there were no pursuers along the way. Soon, our group found Liu Ruyan. When she saw none of us were injured, the worry in Liu Ruyan's heart finally faded completely. The 5 of us were on a high ground, with a plain stretching out in front of us. If anyone came, we would notice immediately. After reviewing today's battle, we all agreed that the enemy's strength was very weak. Even Zhou Hanmei didn't expect that most of their ability users were relatively weak. Since things went so smoothly for us today, we wondered if the warehouse boss would prepare the supplies. As we requested, Liu Ruyan smiled and said, "It won't be that easy. According to the agreement we wrote in the letter, we still have 1 hour. If within 1 hour, there aren't trucks loaded with supplies in front of the warehouse, we'll teach them a good lesson." As we were talking, I noticed a dark figure sneaking over from not far away. This person was a rat-type ability user, sniffing the air with his nose stuck up. Liu Ruyan lowered her voice and said, "Qingshan, you really picked a good spot. Otherwise, we wouldn't have noticed him coming." Right after that, the 5 of us got ready, waiting for the rat to come over, so we could catch him like a turtle in a jar. Since this rat had only just obtained his ability, he couldn't control it freely yet. He could only feel a strong scent ahead, but couldn't tell our exact location. It wasn't until we were less than 20 meters apart that Liu Tianba transformed into the giant white tiger again. A tiger's roar resounded through the sky, making the rat-type ability user's body jolt violently. He subconsciously turned around to run, but the tiger's roar seemed to have a bloodline suppression effect on him, making his limbs feel as heavy as lead. His movements became extremely slow. Before he could escape, the giant white tiger pounced forward, pinning the rat to the ground. The rat-type ability user began to scream frantically. Liu Tianba found him annoying and covered his mouth with his huge tiger paw. "Shut up! If you keep screaming, we'll kill you!" At these words, the rat-type ability user fell silent. Liu Tianba then moved his paw away in time. The rat-type ability user felt no pain on his body and let out a long sigh of relief. But with the 5 of us surrounding him, he still felt uneasy. You're the ability users who caused trouble earlier, aren't you?" "Yes, so you're here to follow us, right?" At once, the rat shook his head violently like a rattle. No, no, I was just passing by. Hearing this, I gave him a hard slap across the face. Stop playing dumb, I'm not an idiot. Now I'm gonna ask you questions. You answer truthfully, or you won't leave here safely. After being slapped, he seemed much more obedient. The white tiger beside us also cooperated, opening his huge fanged mouth at the right time, and moving closer to the ability user, as if he would swallow him alive in the next second. This terrified the rat-type ability user. He waved his hands and begged for mercy repeatedly. Ask me anything. I'll tell you the truth about everything. Seeing how afraid he was of death, I continued to intimidate him. I can spare your life, but you must tell the truth. The ability user quickly agreed. What's your name? My name is Lu Dehua. What's your ability then? I continued to ask. My ability is related to rats. It lets me gain a rat's sense of smell and hearing. Lu Dehua, you're here to follow us, right? How many ability users are there in your warehouse? And who's the strongest one? Lu Dehua froze for a moment. I don't know exactly how many ability users there are in the warehouse, but the number is no less than 30. I don't know who the strongest ability user is, but there are two whose strength is exceptionally powerful. One has the earth-piercing ability. He can drill straight into the ground, making it impossible for you to catch him. The other can ignite blazing flames all over his body. Both his attack and defense are extremely strong. Lu Dehua cooperatively told us everything he knew. After all, he was just forced by life to work here as a security guard to make money. As for this warehouse, I actually knew more about it than Lu Dehua did. The strongest person in this warehouse was the boss's father, an old man who was originally on the verge of death. But at the last moment, he touched a long-lived turtle. This not only saved his life, but also gave him the ability to devour others' lives. He could spit out a wisp of strange smoke, and by this means plunder others' vitality to strengthen himself. But now I wasn't afraid of him either. After all, it was still the early stage of the ability awakening. Presumably, he hadn't figured out his own ability yet. Oh, right. Our boss has read your letter. Upon learning that the warehouse boss had read it, all of us breathed a sigh of relief. At least this first step had been completed smoothly. At the same time, Hu Jiawei, the middle-aged man in the luxurious office, slammed his fist hard on the wooden desk. How dare these people threaten me? They're so damn it! The security captain standing beside him asked cautiously, Boss, should we do as they said or ignore them? Hu Jiawei kicked the security captain hard. Like hell we'll do what they say. Send more people to guard. If those guys dare to come again, I'll break their legs. Hu Jiawei was from the last century. He had gone through some special events. So when abilities awakened worldwide, order collapsed instantly. He no longer treated people gently. Instead, he chose to use violent means to consolidate his position. So when he learned of our arrival, his first thought was to crush us to ashes, so as to intimidate everyone else and build his own prestige. Seeing the boss so furious, the security captain immediately promised Hu Jiawei, no problem. Boss, I'll arrange the personnel right away. I guarantee not even a fly can get in. After leaving the office, the security captain couldn't help but feel a headache when he thought of the figures of the white tiger, the giant saber, and the giant sword. Although there were few of them, each of them was terrifyingly strong. I hope nothing goes wrong, he thought. After that, the captain transferred 3 people from each of the 4 patrol teams to guard the gate. Now, there were as many as 21 ability users guarding the gate. After arranging the personnel, the captain returned to the gate, only to find that Lu Dehua, the rat-type ability user, had been out for an hour and hadn't come back yet. Damn it! The captain cursed. Could it be that Lu has been discovered and killed? As for Lu Dehua's disappearance, the other security guards around didn't care at all. The security captain had no choice but to nod helplessly. He could only wait for Lu, hoping he was okay. In this chaotic era, most ability users had become more selfish. As for others' life or death, what did it have to do with them? So everyone came up with a common excuse. Lu would be back soon, right after that. The security captain said to the newly added ability users, You guys must hide well. Don't expose yourselves. Wait until they are completely exposed. Then we'll surround and wipe them out together. These ability users were all very cooperative. They all hid in the security room nearby, waiting for the right moment to act. Later, the security captain arranged for 2 large trucks and parked them outside the warehouse gate. He planned to wait until we let our guard down, then surround us completely. At the same time, we told Liu Dehua, who we had just captured, to dig holes nearby. In a short while, he had already dug 7 big holes. An hour and a half had passed now. It was time to go and see if the boss was sincere. Liu Tianba rubbed his fists in anticipation. All right, I'm ready. When we were about to reach the warehouse, Liu Ruyan pulled my arm and said, Wait a minute, Qingshan. When you go over later, don't get close to the ability users all at once. Be on guard against their tricks. Liu Dehua quickly asked, What about me? Where should I go? I glanced at Liu Dehua. You'll go with us? If you dare to betray us later, I'll execute you on the spot. Hearing this, Liu Dehua's body trembled. He quickly pledged his loyalty to us. At this time, Liu Tianba also pressed his hand on Liu's shoulder. You'd better be as honest as you seem. Liu Tianba was so strong that he almost knocked Liu Dehua to the ground. Soon our group arrived at the warehouse gate, and sure enough, there were 2 large trucks parked at the gate. Liu Tianba was overjoyed at the sight, exclaiming that the warehouse boss was a man with vision. But I felt something was wrong. If these people were so easy to talk to, wouldn't the grain in this warehouse have been looted long ago? So we still followed the plan and activated our respective abilities. The giant white tiger was in the front, and the giant sword and giant saber were on the left and right, respectively. When the security guards in the warehouse saw us coming, they all perked up, their eyes shining brightly. The security captain gave some instructions to the other ability users, telling them to act according to the plan. Then he ran towards us enthusiastically. Everything is ready. Come and check. But I warn you, if you dare to come again next time, we won't be this easy going. The security captain pretended to be angry on the surface, putting on an angry look. But I didn't believe him at all. Now open the truck compartments. We need to check. If there's really no problem, I'll return this Liu guy to you. At this time, Liu Dehua looked at the other side with an innocent face and smiled. Hearing this, the security captain looked resolute. Go and open the rear compartments for them. Inside, there were indeed piles of various supplies. When they saw that there were really supplies inside, everyone was overjoyed. This was especially true for Zhou Hanmei and Liu Chuanxiong, who were standing beside, but I still didn't let my guard down. Now unload all these things for me? The security captain seemed a little hesitant upon hearing this. He couldn't help cursing inwardly, damn brat. So cunning. Because he knew very well there wasn't much supplies in the trucks at all. Most of what was inside were just... I noticed the captain's hesitation. Liu Chuanxiong and his wife also sensed something was wrong. So I whispered a reminder to everyone. Wait a minute. We'll retreat directly. Liu Dehua was confused. His boss had clearly prepared 2 truckloads of supplies. If they just took the supplies, wouldn't everything be fine? At this moment, the security captain spoke again. Are you here to mess with us? We loaded the supplies, and now you want us to unload them? If you really think there's a problem, why don't you come check it yourselves? Since that's the case, then we'll check it ourselves. I stared at the security captain with sharp eyes. Upon hearing my words, the captain froze for a second. He didn't expect we really dared to check the supplies. Once we fell into the trap, he would wave his hand, ordering a group of ability users to kill us on the spot. The security captain smiled and said, Then come check. Then I whispered to Liu Tianba, Brother Tianba, you go check the supplies later. Grab a weaker ability user directly. Then we retreat. Liu Tianba nodded his tiger head to show agreement, because he also noticed something fishy about this deal. At this moment, the white tiger walked over, shaking its head. Its huge tiger head could easily swallow any ability user. Damn, that's huge! Seeing this, the security captain couldn't help swallowing. You two, unleash your abilities. Immediately, 2 nearby ability users transformed into a giant yellow dog beast and a giant black cat beast, respectively. Standing in front of Liu Tianba's white tiger, the 2 beast, transformed users looked like rookies. Don't mind them. They just unleash their abilities because they're scared of the big tiger. To boost their courage, the security captain quickly explained. Upon hearing this, I just nodded, but moved my lips slightly, whispering, Uncle, Auntie, and Little Rat. Get ready to retreat. Just as the white tiger was about to reach the truck, I shouted in a low voice. Then I grabbed Liu Dehua's body and dodged backward. The giant sword and giant saber also followed my steps, retreating quickly. As for the giant white tiger, the moment I retreated, it suddenly released a terrifying Beast King's pressure, sweeping forward. Then it bit the giant black cat beast in front of it and quickly retreated backward. Suddenly, a large number of ability users rushed out of the security room, but the giant white tiger was already gone. Only a pool of blood and messy beast footprints were left on the ground. Damn it! The security captain cursed loudly, the veins on his forehead throbbing. The other ability users had complicated expressions. After seeing their comrade being taken away, everyone felt heavy, hearted. The security captain was also in a low mood. Xiao Chen, the giant cat who had just been taken away, had followed him for 2 years. To avoid losing more teammates, the security captain planned to join forces with several patrol captains, to have a good talk with Boss Hu again. On the other side, we quickly retreated to Liu Ruyan's location, seeing we had nothing in hand. Liu Ruyan knew things hadn't gone smoothly. Are they unwilling to cooperate? And where's my brother? As soon as she finished speaking, the sound of a beast running came from not far away. A giant white tiger holding a trembling black cat in its mouth walked towards us. The white tiger opened its mouth and dropped the black cat aside. The black cat on the ground transformed back into a human, an ordinary person with no distinctive features. He looked extremely weak, his lips pale. Please don't kill me. The middle-aged man knelt on the ground, shouting pleas for mercy repeatedly. At this moment, Lu Dehua mustered up the courage to greet him. Uncle Chen, you got caught too? Hearing this, I glanced at Lu Dehua calmly. Bury him. Lu Dehua had dug many pits earlier. Now that Lu Tianba had captured the first ability user, it was only right to let him have a taste of it. But Lu Dehua hesitated. This is Uncle Chen.
Do we really have to bury him?
Upon hearing our conversation, Uncle Chen was shocked. He thought we were going to bury him alive. It was the first time he felt so close to death. Don't kill me! Please, Uncle Chen screamed hysterically. I stepped forward and slapped him hard. If you don't want to die, shut your mouth. Then I looked coldly at Lu Dehua beside me. Bury him. If you don't, we'll bury you instead. Lu Dehua trembled upon hearing this. All right, then bury Uncle Chen. As he buried Uncle Chen, Lu Dehua explained, It's okay, Uncle Chen. We'll only bury your body. We'll leave your head exposed to breathe. Once they get the supplies, they'll set you free. Hearing this, Uncle Chen finally relaxed, saying he would cooperate well. I had to say, Lu Dehua was really good at digging pits. After being buried, Uncle Chen only had his neck and head exposed. He looked ridiculous on the ground, like bamboo shoots sprouting out of the earth. Then I took out a branch and told Uncle Chen to bite it. If the branch falls, your head will fall too. Understood? I said the cruelest words in the calmest tone. Uncle Chen was obviously terrified. He quickly bit down on the tough branch. With the branch in his mouth, he couldn't shout loudly anymore. Looking at Uncle Chen's ridiculous and pitiful state, Lu Dehua once again confirmed his thought. Better him than me? Then I turned to Liu Ruyan. Ruyan, you stay here to guard the warehouse. The boss isn't being honest. We'll go 'cause more trouble, and catch some more ability users, by the way. Liu Ruyan knew the seriousness of the situation, so she nodded slightly. Be careful. I'll guard the camp well. Then we set off for the warehouse again. This time we didn't go to the warehouse gate. Instead, we went to a large wall on the east side of the warehouse. I asked Brother Tianba, Can you knock down this wall? The giant white tiger nodded, showing agreement. Then the white tiger took a few steps back and rammed into the wall hard with its side. Immediately, half of the 2-person high stone wall collapsed. Then we entered the warehouse and started destroying things. A loud commotion spread around, but the patrol teams arrived immediately. Each of the 2 patrol teams had 3 people. When we saw them coming, we all stopped what we were doing. The giant white tiger charged straight at Patrol Team B. The giant sword and giant saber rushed towards Patrol Team C. The 3 ability users of Patrol Team B quickly unleashed their abilities. One was covered in blazing flames, one had a body as hard as rock, and one transformed into a fierce bull beast. But the giant white tiger didn't fear at all. It pounced directly at the bull beast, scratching its body hard. In an instant, the bull beast fell dead on the spot. Killing a transformed ability user wouldn't make them die immediately. Instead, they would transform back into their human form. However, after transforming back, their bodies were extremely weak, having already lost their combat ability and the ability to escape. Then, the rock, body ability user, took the chance to punch the white tiger. This punch made the white tiger feel intense pain. At this moment, the fire ability user also seized the chance to hug the white tiger, trying to burn it to ashes. But he didn't expect the white tiger to just shake its body, sending the ability user flying away. And the burning fur on its body only took a few breaths to extinguish on its own. However, the white tiger's curled, burnt fur didn't affect its beauty at all. Instead, it made the tiger look even more majestic and fierce. Immediately after, the white tiger knocked out the fire ability user. The stone transformation ability user also couldn't escape its tiger claws. By now, Liu Tianba had taken down all members of Patrol Team B. As for Patrol Team C on the other side, they were all defeated by Liu Chunxiong and his wife too. The three of them lay on the ground, on the verge of death. One of them even had a long, narrow wound on his arm. The loud noise in the warehouse attracted more ability users. I quickly ordered everyone to leave. After loading the 6 ability users onto the white tiger's back, we started retreating quickly. When the remaining warehouse guards noticed that we only took the patrol team's ability users away, without killing them, it came as a great shock to them.
Did you see that? These ability users only capture people, not kill them. I saw it!
That rat guy seems to have joined them already. If you can't beat them, join them. Could it be that these ability users want us to join them too? The group of ability users talked among themselves, noticing something unusual about this matter. On the other side, in the luxurious office, 4 patrol captains and the security captain were having a small meeting with boss Hu Jiawei. Hu Jiawei rapped his knuckles on the table hard. Why are you all so cowardly? We have more than 40 people. Can't we handle just 4 people? But none of the 4 patrol captains or the security captain had any desire to fight to the death. Clearly, if they just made peace with Li Qingshan and the others and had a proper deal, everyone could live in peace. But Hu Jiawei felt that his authority had been challenged, which made him very angry. What's the point of me keeping you all then? Besides, the more ability users die now, the more resources each of you can get. Later, when we take control of this area and rule as kings, becoming powerful figures here. What won't we have? Money, women? Hu Jiawei's non-stop tirade left everyone in silence. At this moment, a burst of hurried footsteps came from outside the door. An ability user who was short in stature, but had extremely developed leg muscles ran in. Boss Hu, there's an emergency. Those 4 ability users came to cause trouble again just now. Before the messenger ability user could finish speaking, Hu Jiawei flew into a rage again. He slammed his fist hard on the table. What? Those 4 beasts came to cause trouble again? When he learned that the 4 of them had not only torn down the east wall of the warehouse, but also abducted the ability users of 2 patrol teams, he jumped up straight away. He smashed the thick pine conference table to pieces with a heavy punch. At this time, the faces of Captain B and Captain C turned extremely ugly. They didn't expect that just during a meeting. All their subordinates had been abducted. This result made the 2 of them very angry, and their faces turned ashen. The conference table was now smashed to pieces, but the meeting still had to go on. The security captain lowered his head and said, "We should just give them the supplies. If we just back down a little, this matter will be over." The captains of Team A and Team D also agreed repeatedly, but Boss Hu Jiawei, along with Captain B and Captain C, completely disagreed. They insisted on teaching the other side a harsh lesson. The 6 people present were immediately divided into 2 factions. One was the conservative faction, which advocated meeting the enemy's demands. The other was the war faction, which advocated eliminating the enemy to remove the threat. Meanwhile, the 5 of us, along with the 6 captured ability users, arrived at Liu Ruyan's location. Later, with the help of the giant white tiger, Liu Dehua buried the 5 captured ability users in the pits. As for the injured ability user, I pulled him aside and started practicing the Qi technique, a special skill to absorb spiritual energy, absorbing heaven and earth spiritual energy. I used the spiritual energy to heal his wound. For a moment, the spiritual energy nourished the sword wound on the injured man's body, and the pain quickly faded away. Liu Ruyan beside me watched this scene carefully. From Liu Ruyan's perspective, she could clearly feel the magical vital energy around me. So spiritual energy has such an effect. Liu Ruyan marveled in her heart. The injured man also saw this scene. He had originally been on guard against us, and even planned to die together with us. But as I carefully treated his wound, he let go of his vigilance. He even felt a little grateful in his heart. This young man's ability must be related to healing. In this chaotic world ahead, having healing ability will definitely lead to an unlimited future. The injured man's mind was racing. In peaceful times, doctors were already highly respected, and now in this chaotic world, the complete medical system had completely collapsed. Many ability users once injured were almost as good as dead. So Li Tingshan, with this ability, was definitely worthy of respect. It took a full half an hour. The injured man's wound was completely scabbed over. I also stopped what I was doing, my face turning extremely pale. Your wound is almost healed. Now I need to go get some herbs to bandage it simply for you. In less than 2 months, your arm will be completely recovered, and there won't be any scars left. My words made everyone gasp in shock. Such a skill was simply like bringing the dying back to life. Comparable to a legendary divine doctor, the injured man held my hand and thanked me repeatedly. At this moment, he could clearly feel that his arm didn't hurt as much anymore. Liu Chuanxiong beside me looked a little embarrassed and said, "Sorry, Qingshan. I didn't control my strength earlier and caused you trouble." In fact, Liu Chuanxiong had already controlled his strength very well. If he had struck with all his strength, this injured man wouldn't have just suffered a broken arm. He might even have been cut in half by the giant sword. I waved my hand at Uncle Liu and said, "Uncle, there's no need to blame yourself for this. If you aren't ruthless enough, the one who gets injured will only be yourself." Then I set off with Liu Tianba to look for herbs. The two of us ran quickly through the mountains and forests. In just half an hour, we returned with a full load, bringing back a pile of herbs. Then I started grinding the herbs for the injured man. As I ground them, I asked the injured man, "What's your name? What's your ability?" The injured man didn't hesitate. He said directly, "My name is Zhang Zi. My ability is that my hands can stretch and retract freely. They can become very long." When abilities appeared worldwide, "What did you touch?" Because I watched One Piece before, and I really liked Luffy's ability. So I wanted to try touching rubber, to see if I could get an ability similar to Luffy's. I didn't expect my wish actually came true. As he spoke, Zhang Zi even demonstrated for us. His uninjured right hand stretched and retracted quickly. I replied politely, "This ability is pretty good." But to my surprise, Zhang Zi said something shocking right after. "I like this ability too. It can be really useful when needed. It's just a pity I don't have a girlfriend." Hearing this, I almost dropped my jaw in shock. This Zhang Zi was really something. He actually linked his ability to women. Liu Tianba beside me was also stunned. He couldn't help but glance at his sister. "Liu Wuyan?" When he saw his sister looking confused, Liu Tianba finally felt relieved. Soon I finished grinding the herbs. Then I applied the herb residue to Zhang Zi's wound and took some torn cloth to bandage it. The bandaging was done in no time. After warning him not to cause any trouble, I walked away. At this moment, Liu Tianba walked up to me. "Qingshan, I have something I want to discuss with you. I plan to go to that warehouse alone and capture all those ability users." Before Liu Tianba could finish speaking, he was interrupted by Liu Chuanxiong. "Tianba, this is too dangerous. We should go together as a group. At least we can look out for each other." Liu Ruyan also hurried to persuade him. "Yeah, brother. Don't go risking your life alone." But Liu Tianba spoke with firmness. "If I go alone, I can quickly capture an ability user. But if we all go together, we'll inevitably end up fighting them. If a fight breaks out, we'll likely be surrounded and attacked." Listening to Liu Tianba's words, I thought for a moment and felt what he said made sense. But just as Liu Chuanxiong had said, fighting guerrilla warfare alone was too dangerous. At this time, Liu Ruyan and Zhou Hanmei tried to persuade him again, but Liu Tianba turned a deaf ear. He was confident that he could capture all the ability users in the warehouse. Seeing her brother show no reaction, Liu Ruyan quickly turned to me for help. "Qingshan, say something. Persuade my brother." I didn't reply to Liu Ruyan immediately. Instead, I was thinking about the feasibility of Liu Tianba's plan. Suddenly an idea struck me, and my eyes lit up. "Brother Tianba, I agree with your idea." Hearing this, Liu Tianba was as excited as if he'd found a kindred spirit, filled with energy. "Got it, Qingshan. I guarantee I'll complete the mission." Liu Tianba laughed heartily, looking confident, but this made Liu Ruyan a little angry. "Qingshan, how could you agree to let my brother go alone? What if he's ganged up on?" Liu Chuanxiong also looked worried. "Yeah, I don't feel at ease letting Tianba go alone." Zhou Hanmei, as his mother, also expressed her concern. "If you're worried about drawing too much attention, at least let Chuanxiong go with Tianba." At this moment, I raised a hand to signal everyone to be quiet first. "Everyone, don't rush. Let me finish first. We'll still use guerrilla tactics this time, but we'll add a trick. Make a feint to the east and attack in the west. Divert attention to one direction while attacking another. Before I could finish, a faint light flashed in Liu Ruyan's eyes. Qingshan is so smart. What do you mean by feinting east and attacking west? Uncle and I will draw most of their forces. Meanwhile, Brother Tianba will take advantage of the emptiness to cause damage and capture some ability users. I'm sure after a day of torment, the warehouse boss will can't take it anymore and agree to our demands. Liu Chuanxiong clapped repeatedly in praise. Qingshan, you're really a rising star, surpassing the old guard. And so, we left Liu Dehua to continue digging pits. Zhou Hanmei and Liu Ruyan stayed behind to guard the camp, because by now, there were already many captured ability users in the camp. Leaving only Liu Ruyan there would be too dangerous, and this was exactly what I had in mind when I made this arrangement. Soon I set off with Liu Chuanxiong and his son. This time we had to succeed. We'd burned our bridges. Otherwise, problems would arise if this dragged on. Although I looked calm on the surface, I was actually a bit flustered inside. We'd already captured so many ability users here. If we ran out of food later, the situation would only get worse. If this guerrilla operation didn't yield results, we'd have no choice but to seize the warehouse by force. Soon, Liu Chuanxiong and I arrived at the west wall of the warehouse. Liu Chuanxiong transformed into a giant sword and pointed at the west wall. In no time, the wall crumbled to pieces, turning into a pile of broken bricks. Meanwhile, Liu Tianba lay in ambush not far from the gate. At this time, only 2 patrol teams remained in the warehouse. Patrol Team A and Team D, since all members of Team B and Team C had been captured by us. Their captains joined Team A and Team D respectively. However, there were still 20 ability users guarding the warehouse gate, with the security captain as their leader. Suddenly, a loud commotion came from the west gate of the warehouse. All members of the patrol team rushed over immediately. When they arrived, Liu Chuanxiong and I were wreaking havoc. This made Deputy Captain Zhang Su furious. He cursed on the spot, damn it. These beasts come every day. This is too much! As he spoke, Zhang Su's body twisted and transformed into a 3-meter-long silver staff. The staff floated in the air and swung toward the giant sword. Meanwhile, some ability users were calling for backup. The west district of the warehouse is under attack. Request backup. Upon hearing this, Team D's Captain Hong Zhang was excited. Hurry to support. Don't let them get away! At this moment, the security captain at the gate also received the news. Leave 5 ability users here. The rest come with me. We must stop all of them this time. Because the conclusion of the meeting between the captains and Boss Hu was to defend the warehouse to the death and eliminate the intruders. However, due to information asymmetry, they didn't know that only Liu Chuanxiong and I were at the west gate. So when I sensed people coming, I quickly urged Uncle Liu Chuanxiong to leave. After seeing us escape, Team D's captain He Jingdong suddenly had a bad premonition. Could this be a trick? At this time, Deputy Captain Zhang Su also caught up. Only 2 of them came this time? And they just ran away like that? Could there be a bigger move coming? Captain Hong Zhang of Team D also arrived with 5 subordinates. At this moment, Hong Zhang's body had doubled in size. Like a small giant, he was over 3 meters tall. After seeing no sign of the enemy around, Hong Zhang deactivated his ability. Where are the enemies? Where did those troublemakers go again? Just as they were confused, the security captain arrived with 14 more ability users surrounding the area. After seeing no enemies at the west gate, he realized they'd fallen for the lure the tiger away from the mountain trick. Just then, a loud boom came from the gate. Oh no, the gate is under attack! At this moment, the security captain turned around and ran toward the warehouse gate. The other ability users followed closely behind. But when they reached the gate, they only saw the white tiger had already left, with several ability users lying on its back. Damn it, really damn it! The security captain's face turned ferocious. Being outsmarted repeatedly made everyone's faces look terrible. At this time, the deputy captain found a letter at the gate. After reading it, the security captain sighed. They've already captured 12 of us. Should we just give in to their demands? 2 truckloads of supplies will be enough for them to survive half a year. He Jingdong also thought it made sense. They've already made it clear they won't hurt our brothers. They even treated their injuries. If we don't comply, I'm afraid the losses will be even greater. As he spoke, He Jingdong glanced at the surrounding walls and buildings. They were severely damaged. If the destruction continued, this warehouse would definitely be completely destroyed. Even Zhang Su and Fang Daiwan began to waver. They had originally been on the war faction, but now they were afraid of dying because of this. After thinking for a long time, the security captain's eyes lit up.
He seemed to have an idea.
Hey, Hong! I have something to discuss with you two. Zheng Su and Fang Dayuan raised their eyebrows slightly, wanting to join the discussion, but unfortunately they weren't invited. Then the three of them stepped aside and talked quietly. If the boss still refuses to negotiate this time, we'll let more of our brothers be captured. When the warehouse is short of people, the boss will have no choice but to agree to their demands. Besides, the few people who came to cause trouble are upright. Even Liu Dehua, the spy we sent earlier, is still safe and sound, as long as we can help them get the supplies as soon as possible. We can put an end to this matter quickly. After discussing, the three of them went to find Zheng Su and Fang Dayuan. Zheng Fang, I think we need to talk to Boss Hu again about whether to prepare supplies for those troublemaking ability users. If Boss Hu disagrees, we'll have to stay alert and guard the warehouse well. The security captain looked at them seriously. Upon hearing this, Zheng Su and Fang Dayuan frowned deeply. Is this the result of their long discussion? But since the others didn't tell them the details, Zheng Su and Fang Dayuan couldn't bring themselves to ask. After discussing who would stay behind to guard, the security captain and Zheng Su took the letter and went to the office again to report the matter to the boss. Upon hearing this, Hu Jiawei flew into a rage again, threatening to tear those troublemaking ability users to pieces. But he still refused to compromise this time. After all, the supplies in the warehouse had cost him a lot of manpower and money to obtain. The security captain and Zheng Su had no choice but to obey Hu Jiawei's order and pass this message on. At the same time, though, the security captain winked frantically at Hong Zhang and the other, signaling them to act according to the plan. Currently, the warehouse had 5 captains and 30 ability users, divided into 5 teams. They were responsible for guarding different areas of the warehouse. If enemies invaded, they could reinforce each other immediately. This was exactly the plan of the security captain and the others, to make it easier for us to capture ability users when attacking the warehouse. On our side, we had already returned to the camp, but we had no idea about the warehouse team's plan. Among the 5 newly captured ability users, one had almost been killed by Liu Tianba's white tiger form when he transformed into a giant beast dog. As a result, after reverting from his ability form, he felt completely drained. Extremely weak. Looking at the 5 people in front of me, I asked Liu Dehua beside me, what abilities do these 5 new captives have? Liu Dehua quickly moved to the newly captured ability user's side and briefly introduced their abilities to me. After hearing this, I glanced at them. The warehouse's ability users were really not strong. Brother Tianba could handle them easily. Soon, the 3 of us, Liu Chuanxiang, Liu Tianba, and I, set off again. After observing the number of ability users at the warehouse, Liu Tianba frowned slightly. There were around 20 people guarding the warehouse gate before. Why are there only 6 now? Hearing this, I also observed carefully and noticed that the ability users' positions had indeed changed. Could they be plotting something? At this moment, Liu Chuanxiang said, there might be a trick, but right now their gate is undefended. We can just test it out to see. I nodded, agreeing with Liu Chuanxiang's idea. If we can take it, we can capture all 6 of them. Both Liu Tianba and Liu Chuanxiang thought this was feasible. After these rounds of battles, Liu Tianba had become more and more skilled at controlling his white tiger form. The same went for Liu Chuanxiang's giant sword. But he felt that the giant sword could only unleash its true power when held by a strong person. After confirming there was no problem, the 3 of us launched a fierce attack. In an instant, Liu Tianba transformed into the giant white tiger and charged forward first. His running kicked up a lot of dust. Liu Chuanxiang's giant sword also charged forward, shining with a dazzling cold light. I followed closely behind the white tiger and the giant sword, also charging forward. The security captain and the ability users at the gate were thrown into a panic immediately. The security captain immediately ordered everyone to attack. While he quickly lit fireworks nearby, bunches of sparks soared into the sky, bursting into brilliant light. This was the security captain sending a message to the patrol teams. But while it seemed like he was sending a message, it was actually an act, because the security captain had long been prepared. As long as the enemy attacked the gate, he would surrender without resistance. After all, the enemy didn't kill anyone anyway. The prepared security captain waved his arms, transforming into 2 large black snakes that charged at the white tiger. He said he was charging, but when he got close to the giant white tiger, he took the initiative to hold back his strength. getting knocked flying by the giant white tiger directly. The security captain, who hit the ground hard, let out a scream, feeling like his body was falling apart. Getting hit by this giant tiger. It really hurt. Soon the three of us took down all the ability users. A look of disdain flashed in Liu Tianba's eyes. These underlings are too weak. I quickly urged Liu Chuanxiong to carry the ability users away. We finished carrying them all soon. During this time, I also kept threatening them to cooperate well. But no one was stupid. I wielded the knife, and they were like fish on a chopping board. So everyone cooperated well, then the three of us left without looking back. When the other patrol teams arrived, they could only watch our distant figures. He Jingdong looked devastated when he saw this. I didn't expect Lao Yang to be captured.
Damn it!
I'm going to rescue him. Hong Zhang beside him quickly held his shoulder. You mustn't go. The enemy is in the dark and we're in the light. We need to think this through carefully. Although on the surface the two looked devastated, in reality, they weren't worried about the security captain's safety at all, because the enemy never killed the people they captured. So they weren't flustered at all. They even felt a little admiration for Lao Yang. The warehouse, which originally had 30 ability users, now only had 24 left. For a moment, everyone was panic-stricken, having completely lost their will to fight. The four captains had no choice but to report this to boss Hu Jiawei again. Hearing all these troublesome bad news, Hu Jiawei rubbed his brows frantically, feeling like his head was going to explode. He was thinking about how to deal with these intruders. It would be too humiliating to just send 2 truckloads of supplies away. But this matter was like a sharp thorn stuck in Hu Jiawei's heart. Pulling it out would make him bleed, but leaving it in would also hurt. So he needed to think about it a little longer. However, the news that the intruders only captured people and didn't kill them spread around the warehouse. This was exactly the result that Hong Zhang and He Jingdong had deliberately guided to make more ability users lose their will to fight. They all thought that if they couldn't beat the enemy, they might as well play dead, since the enemy wouldn't really kill them anyway. At the same time, we returned to the camp again. The security captain, Lao Yang, glanced around, his mouth dropping open so wide, it seemed like he could fit 2.5 basketballs in it. He never expected that. All the captured ability users had been buried in the ground. As he was thinking this, Lao Yang caught sight of Lu Dehua beside him. Lu Dehua's hands and clothes were covered in mud. Obviously, all these pits had been dug by him. Couldn't beat them, so he joined them to dig pits? Lao Yang couldn't help but laugh angrily. He now understood why Lu Dehua had been able to go to the warehouse with the troublemakers. Turns out this guy had joined the enemy. Then Lao Yang looked at Xiao Zhang, the injured man by the tree. There were obvious signs of wound treatment on Xiao Zhang's body. Just as Li Qingshan and the others had stated in the letter, they treated all captives well. This made Lao Yang's heart skip a beat. Maybe trusting them wasn't a bad choice. At this moment, I looked at Lu Dehua not far away and told him to explain the rules here to the new captives and bury them all in the ground. So after explaining the rules, Lu Dehua wanted to bury his good brother Lao Yang first. This made Lao Yang curse him for being heartless. Then Lao Yang said he had something to say, because he had noticed that, even though I was very young, I held considerable authority in this small group. So he thought I was the leader of the group. The giant white tiger beside me hadn't transformed back into a human. It roared at Lao Yang, warning him not to play any tricks. Lao Yang quickly waved his hands to explain, I won't play any tricks. I just really have something to say. Seeing that Lao Yang really had something to say, I told him to follow me. At this moment, Liu Tianba was also worried about my safety, so he followed along too. Speak, I said to Lao Yang in a calm tone. Although I was protected by the giant white tiger, I still remained vigilant, ready to fight at any moment. First, Lao Yang briefly introduced his ability and his identity as the warehouse captain. Then he said, the warehouse boss and the others have already seen through the situation, although Boss Hu disagrees. I and some of my brothers don't want to resist anymore. We just want to end this peacefully. So they plan to disperse the warehouse's combat strength to help us take down the warehouse. And now was the best time to attack. Lao Yang's words solved the doubt in my mind. So that's why the warehouse gate's defense was so weak. I nodded immediately. Captain Yang, we have no intention of occupying the warehouse. We just want 2 truckloads of supplies. Once we get the supplies we need, we'll immediately release all your brothers. After all, this warehouse is a hot potato. If other ability users target it, there will be endless trouble later. Lao Yang nodded. I believe you. In fact, he had no other choice. Then Lao Yang begged me again, not to tell anyone about what he, Hongjung, and Jindong had done, otherwise they would have nowhere to go. I waved my hand. You don't have to worry. There are no gossip mongers here who love to spread rumors. Then we led Lao Yang back to the camp. At this moment, Lu Dehua had already buried the 5 ability users in the pits. Then he gestured for Lao Yang to jump into the deep pit. Lu Ruyan walked over, her beautiful eyes wandering. She looked at me curiously. Qingshan? What were you talking about just now? Cute as a little cat, I couldn't refuse her. So I told Ruyan her parents about what Lao Yang had said. Hearing this, Lu Ruyan was very happy. That's great news. We'll get the supplies soon. Liu Chuanxiong even said, we shouldn't waste time. We should set off immediately to capture more ability users. Even Liu Tianba let out a low roar and nodded his fierce, looking head repeatedly, indicating it was time to go now. After telling Ruyan and Auntie what to do, I set off with the others again to capture more people. This time at the warehouse gate, there were indeed only 6 ability users, looking very weak in combat strength. The man leading them was only about 1.6 meters tall, but his body was very sturdy. His solid muscles contained explosive power. According to Lao Yang, the security captain's description, this man should be Hong Jiang. His ability could make his body double in size. So, I said to Liu Chuanxiong and his son beside me, Brother Tianba, Uncle, did you see that? That sturdy short guy in the distance is Hong Jiang. He's Lao Yang's brother, so he won't hit us hard. So we should also hold back when we attack later. After a brief explanation, a tiger, a sword, and a person charged at the gate. Seeing this, Hong Jiang shouted anxiously, Quick, call for backup! As for himself, he activated his ability. His original 1.6 meter body suddenly grew to 3 meters tall. The small giant charged at us, swinging his big fist and smashing it hard at the white tiger. A loud booming sound rang out in the air, but the giant white tiger was extremely agile, making Hong Jiang's fist hit nothing but air. However, the white tiger took the chance to knock him aside. Hong Jiang, lying on the ground, shouted repeatedly, as if his body was falling apart. But we all knew he was putting on an act, not really fighting. After Hong Jiang was taken down, the other ability users also lost their will to fight. They were all easily taken down by Liu Chuanxiong and his son. Then, the 3 of us skillfully carried them onto the tiger's back. Soon, Liu Tianba, who had finished loading the cargo, carried us and ran into the distance. When the 3 patrol teams arrived, the same scene happened again. They could only see our retreating figures. One of the ability users broke down. What's the point of this fight anyway? If you're not going to kill anyone, just take me with you too. Shouting this, the ability user ran out of the crowd and chased after us. So we waited for a moment. When he caught up, I knocked him unconscious with a palm strike and threw him onto the tiger's back. Then we left without looking back again. The group of ability users at the warehouse gate looked at each other, their expressions very complicated, as more and more brothers were captured. These ability users were on the verge of a mental breakdown. The only remaining 3 patrol captains knocked on the boss's office door again. Seeing their dejected looks, Boss Hu rarely didn't get angry. He just sighed. Hong Jiang was captured too? The 3 patrol captains all remained silent, but they all nodded in unison. Sai, go make the arrangements. Prepare 2 truckloads of supplies. Add more food and alcohol. Then park the 2 trucks at the gate. I admit defeat this time, just treat it as spending money to send away. The god of death. Hu Jiawei slouched in his leather chair, his eyes fixed on the ceiling, as if his most precious belongings had been taken away from him. Seeing the boss finally give in, He Jingdong secretly rejoiced. This is what we should have done long ago. Couldn't we just spend some money to ward off trouble and end this? Shortly after, Boss Hu added, Hurry up and pack. I'll go with you to see off the guests later. When he said the words see off the guests, he clearly emphasized them. To show his dissatisfaction, then the captains all left, starting to prepare the 2 truckloads of supplies. But in the office, Hu Jiawei's eyes sparkled with shrewdness. He began to wonder if he could recruit these intruders, so he planned to give it a try later. At the same time, after dropping off the newly captured ability users at the camp, we set off for the warehouse again. Outside the warehouse now, the broken tiles and bricks were gone. In their place were 2 large trucks. Piles of daily supplies were stacked next to the trucks, and ability users were still loading goods one after another. Even the captains and the boss were supervising. Looking at the scene in the distance, My expression gradually turned odd. Uncle, Brother Tianba, did they finally smarten up? They're actually preparing supplies for us now. Seeing this, Liu Tianba also smiled. Looks like these brats have been beaten into submission. They're already preparing things to offer us. However, Liu Chuanxiong was worried there might be a trick. Meet force with force, and water with water. A sharp glint flashed in my eyes. If they still don't cooperate, we'll take over this warehouse. Admittedly, 2 truckloads of supplies are enough for our family to use for half a year. But our appetites grow much bigger when we practice. If they don't cooperate, we'll replace their leader and turn this place into our own grain reserve. That way, we'll solve the problem once and for all. Looking at me in front of him, Liu Chuanxiong nodded heavily. In his heart, my status had become increasingly important. My extraordinary insight and calm as a veteran demeanor made him like me more and more. By now, some ability users in the warehouse had noticed the 3 of us in the distance. They quickly reported the situation to Boss Hu from a distance. The 3 of us did exude a certain uncommon aura, but it seemed to end there. Hu Jiawei spat in disdain. We have more than 40 people in the warehouse, yet we were taken down by just 3 people. They even captured over 20 of my men. Raising a bunch of good-for-nothings like you is worse than raising these 3 elites. The ability users beside him lowered their heads, feeling humiliated. But on second thought, what Boss Hu said wasn't wrong. Hu Jiawei looked at the thick-lipped ability user beside him. Go call those people over. When abilities appeared worldwide, this ability user had touched a toad. Gaining a sound-related ability, he could transmit sound over long distances. Then he stepped forward and shouted at us, "Our boss has seen you. Please come over quickly. We've already prepared 2 truckloads of supplies for you." His thick lips opened, and even his cheeks puffed up strangely, letting out an extremely loud voice. So, we quickly heard what the ability user said. Then the Liu father and son looked at me with anticipation. Liu Chuanxiong even said seriously later, "Qingshan, you talk to that Boss Hu. Tianba and I will activate our abilities to back you up and show our strength." Seeing their serious expressions, I couldn't refuse. Okay, then I'll talk to them. Once we agreed, Liu Tianba's body expanded rapidly. In an instant, he transformed into the giant white tiger and appeared beside me. The giant white tiger let out a low roar, kicking up clouds of dust from the ground. His scarlet eyes turned to me, and I immediately understood what he meant. I jumped and climbed onto the tiger's back. Liu Chuanxiong beside me also transformed into a giant sword and floated beside me, and so, a tiger, a sword, and a person walked slowly toward the warehouse gate. When the ability users loading goods saw this, their expressions became increasingly solemn. Watching the approaching tiger, sword, and person, even Hu Jiawei's face lost its calmness. He began to nervously swallow. At this moment, he finally understood why the warehouse, guarded by over 40 ability users, had been left in such a chaotic mess. Soon we arrived at the warehouse gate. With the giant white tiger and the giant sword as a backdrop, I exuded an aura of power and mystery to everyone present. "You're the boss here, right?" I looked at the plump, middle-aged man in front of me. Hu Jiawei nodded, took a deep breath, and said, "Yes, I am. Are you the leader of their group? May I know how to address you?" When he learned my surname was Li, he warmly called me Brother Li. Hearing this, I jumped down from the white tiger. The giant white tiger let out a roar, intimidating everyone. Meanwhile, the giant sword stood ready to sweep through the enemy. Seeing this, Hu Jiawei quickly explained, "I invited you here to make peace, not to fight with you." After explaining, Hu Jiawei shouted to the ability users around him, "Don't slack off. Hurry up and load the goods." After saying that, Hu Jiawei invited me to sit in a small shed nearby. There was a tea table, sandalwood furniture, and some pastries and fruits on the chairs. Then Hu Jiawei broke the silence first. "Brother Li, I'm really sorry. My men were ignorant earlier. They didn't pass your letter to me. Those who acted on their own have been punished by me. While punishing them, I also prepared the corresponding supplies. Once the supplies are loaded, Brother Li, you can take them away. This matter between us will be over then. Is that okay?" Hu Jiawei glanced alternately at the white tiger and the giant sword, also seeking their opinions. I looked at him calmly. "Fighting leads to acquaintance, right? During this time we borrowed grain. We also did some wrong things. Please forgive us, Boss Hu." Since Hu Jiawei's attitude was sincere, I didn't push him further. After all, I wasn't one to take advantage unnecessarily. But while Hu Jiawei seemed calm on the surface, He was cursing inwardly.
Damn it!
Is this what you call borrowing grain? If this went on any longer, my warehouse would have been completely torn down. If he hadn't feared our strength, Hu Jiawei would have jumped up and slapped me twice. Such pretty words, he thought. However, through this short conversation, he realized I was truly capable. Not just pretending to be mature, this made him abandon the idea of taking revenge. The first round of talks ended, and both sides reached an agreement on the supply issue. But I continued to make a request. Since we're already doing a good deed, let's see it through. Boss Hu, could you lend us 2 drivers to drive the trucks? Hearing this, Hu Jiawei's mouth twitched. He thought, this pretty boy has quite a thick skin. But he still put on an embarrassed expression. Brother Lee, we only have 1 experienced driver left in the warehouse now. Seeing this, I immediately backed down. Just 1 experienced driver is enough. After all, Tianba and I can both drive. 1 more experienced driver to help will be more than sufficient. In fact, the warehouse had more than 1 experienced driver. But if it weren't for wanting to find out where our base was, he wouldn't have agreed to lend even 1. Once the driver issue was settled, Hu Jiawei began his plan. Brother Lee, you're all so powerful, and my warehouse is just short of people. Would you like to join us? As long as you're willing, I'll provide you with more than enough food. And wine! Hu Jiawei's eyes sparkled, his words full of great temptation. But I didn't rush to refuse. Instead, I told him a story. Hu Jiawei was confused, not knowing what I was getting at. Even Lu Chuansheng and his son couldn't understand, glancing at each other in confusion. I smiled slightly. Boss Hu, you must be familiar with the story of Water Margin, a classic Chinese novel about outlaws, right? Wang Lun, the first leader of Liangshan Marsh, the outlaws' base, was killed and stripped of his leadership after his subordinates warmly invited Chao Gai and his men to join. Chao Gai, the second leader, also warmly invited Song Jiang to join. In the end, most of his men pledged loyalty to Song Jiang and followed him instead. I think I don't need to say more about what happened next, right? At first, Hu Jiawei didn't get the hidden meaning, but once he did, he almost panicked, realizing he'd narrowly avoided disaster. Hu Jiawei took a deep breath and sincerely thanked me. My meaning was clear. If we joined his warehouse force, with our strength, it would only be a matter of time before we surpassed him. In the end, his fate would be the same as Wang Lun and Chao Gai's. Working hard only to pave the way for others. Hu Jiawei cursed himself inwardly. I'm so stupid. I almost brought a bunch of troubles on myself. But at this moment, Hu Jiawei also realized we had no intention of seizing the warehouse, which made him breathe a sigh of relief. By now, the 2 truckloads of supplies nearby had been fully loaded. After checking the cargo list, Hu Jiawei smiled and handed it to me. Brother Lee, please check it. See if anything is missing. I'll have someone add it for you. I took the list and looked through it. I found it included not only various foods and tools, but also some clothes. After reading it, I nodded in satisfaction. That's fine, Boss Hu. You've been thoughtful. As I spoke, I stood up and patted him on the shoulder. This action stunned Hu Jiawei for a moment. He didn't expect to be treated like a younger generation, with me patting his shoulder like that. This made him let out a bitter laugh. Seeing me stand up to leave, Hu Jiawei quickly asked what would happen to his men. I smiled slightly, took out a phone, and showed him the location of Liu Ruyan's camp. The screen was filled with rows of radish pits where captives were buried. Hu Jiawei was shocked, speechless. He never imagined our team would be so ruthless, burying all his employees in the deep mountains. Looking at the stunned Hu Jiawei, I smiled slightly. Boss Hu, I didn't hurt your men at all. Dig them out, clean them up, and they'll be fine. Also Xiao Jiang, the one who was accidentally injured, we've already treated his wounds. As I spoke, I swiped the phone screen, showing a clear image of Xiao Jiang, the injured man, looking peaceful. After confirming his men were safe, Hu Jiawei called his driver Lao Wang to drive. Lao Wang was thin and lean, with stubble on his chin that looked rough to the touch. He exuded a dispirited aura, but his eyes sparkled with a shrewd light. Just one glance at him made one want to lock all doors and windows. Then no more words were exchanged. We got into our respective trucks and left, heading to the camp to pick up Liu Ruyan and Zhou Hanmei. When Lao Wang saw Zhou Hanmei and Liu Ruyan, his eyes widened. He was transfixed. The middle-aged woman in front of him had the demeanor of a noble lady, with not a single wrinkle on her face. What was even more admirable was her vibrant spirit and heroic aura, and the pure young girl behind her was even more charming. Though young, She had already developed a graceful figure. If I could have this mother and daughter, I'd die without regret. Lao Wang stood there in a daze, giggling foolishly. Lu Chuanxiong felt a sense of unease when he saw the old driver's reaction. A soaring sword aura emanated from his body, filling the air with a roaring sound. You old bastard! If you dare to look at my wife and daughter again, I'll send you to hell right now. At this moment, the tip of Liu Chuanxiong's sword was only 0.01 centimeters away from Lao Wang's head. If he dared to say even one word of refusal, he would surely end up covered in blood on the spot. Lao Wang was shocked and quickly stepped back, tripping and falling to the ground. He never expected this middle-aged man beside him to be so fierce and powerful. Lao Wang quickly denied his thoughts. No, I wasn't staring. I have no thoughts about that beautiful mother and daughter. Lu Chuanxiong listened to his words, his mouth twitching nonstop. What he said was obviously a case of protesting too much, only making his guilt more apparent. If Lao Wang hadn't looked so cowardly, and if he was still useful to them, Lu Chuanxiong would have killed him on the spot. After a short conversation between everyone, we set off for home. Just as the 3 vehicles drove out of the mountains and were about to enter the muddy country road, 7 men suddenly appeared ahead. Their faces were full of arrogance, clearly a group of desperados.